Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our BEATNIX night. It's
Woo!
Thank you. It is my favorite month of the year. It is October. Witchy season is upon us. So excited. We've been decorating here at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. So, we are coming into your living room right now with BEATNIX. But please, sometime soon, come into our living room over here. So BEATNIX is now going on for like 2 years. We started here in the brick and mortar, and tonight's performers are all BEATNIX alum. They all performed here in the seasons past, but I wanted to bring them back because I wanted to make sure that for October, we have performers that are really going to reach your spirit. So I wrote a new poem. Thank you. That is tradition. When you write a new poem, everybody says new shit. And for those that don't want to say the word, you can say new spirit. So we are in the middle of what they call Hispanic Heritage Month, Latino Heritage Month. So I wrote a little poem, and it goes like this. This vibrant community, the richness in our roots, the diversity of ethnicities we celebrate for what includes an amalgamation of nations that live in our faces with features that range in a rainbow's translation. If you speak Spanish, you're Hispanic, or are we Latinx? These Eurocentric labels leave out the Afro-Indigenous presence. We may not even have the exact term yet, one that could define all that we reflect. So as we celebrate identity, let's treat inclusion with respect as we recognize this expression as an extension of our cultural heritage. Que viva la comunidad! Thank you so much. So, salud. We have an in-studio audience. It's a very small in-studio audience. It's really, we're preparing for the live show after this, which is our Women Orator Wednesday. It's our ladies' night here at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And in the spirit of powerful women, I would like to introduce our first poet, a mother, a teacher, a published author with the brand new classic. It's a contemporary classic, When We Make It. Ladies and gentlemen, please give some warm love to Elizabeth Velasquez. Woo! Elizabeth!
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Bruja, Nuyo, everybody there. Happy October. Ya estamos aquí. I'm gonna jump right into it. I'm really excited to share some new work and some old work. I have recently been doing some research on the effects of migration on the mental health of Puerto Ricans who migrated here. And so my first poem that I want to share is actually in play format because your girl's trying to like do different things and stuff. But in my research, I found that New York City, as we know it, didn't always exist in terms of the 5 boroughs. And Brooklyn, where I was born and raised, in fact, was its own incorporated city and had its own government and laws and stuff. And it became a borough after a long political campaign that said that Brooklyn should consolidate into this idea of the greater New York, which is what we know to be the 5 boroughs now. And this consolidation happened in 1898, which is also the same year in which the United States occupied Puerto Rico. And so later, on. Many Puerto Ricans ended up settling in Brooklyn, but there was a lot of drama. There was a lot of drama with the Puerto Ricans moving to Brooklyn, and because of racism and xenophobia and all of these things. And I was like, maybe Puerto Rico and Brooklyn have more in common than we think. And in the vein of putting things in conversation, which is what I feel like a lot of my work has been doing, I thought, what if we put Brooklyn and Puerto Rico in conversation with a therapist? And so this is a scene of an ongoing series where Brooklyn and Puerto Rico go to marriage counseling. Act 1, Scene 1. On January 1st, 1898, Brooklyn ceased being a city unto itself and was consolidated with other cities, towns, and counties to form what we know now to be the city of New York. Some Brooklyn natives, upset to lose their autonomy, referred to this moment in history as the Great Mistake of 1898. On July 25th, 1898, the United States invaded Puerto Rico and ended Puerto Rico's short-lived, limited autonomy from Spanish rule. In the 1950s, New York City experienced its third and largest wave of Puerto Rican migration, known as the Great Migration. Many Puerto Ricans settled in Brooklyn, stoking fears among the white residents that this would cause the value of their property to go down. This fear resulted in the large exodus of white people from Brooklyn, in which was now famously known as white flight. Right, so we're gonna differentiate between the characters. We're gonna try this. Whenever you see the glasses, it's the therapist, okay? So tell me why you're here today. Why don't you each tell me the problem from your point of view? Well, oh, you can't see this. This is a Bushwick sign. I'm gonna just do it. That's easy, Doc. The problem is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Oh, you think I wanted to be here, huh? I gave up everything for you. Bullshit. You live on Easy Street while I bust my ass working to support you and the kids. Don't you dare bring the kids into this, pendejo, stupido, sucio. Okay. I sense tension. Let's try listening to each other here. Puerto Rico, how do you feel when you hear Brooklyn call you the problem? Well, Señor Terapista, I mostly feel that is true. And if it is true, what are you afraid could be the consequences of that truth? Well, that Brooklyn's gonna get tired of me, and one day I'm gonna have to leave. Oh, you think I'm that much of an asshole to put you out? You know what? You can have the house. I'll leave. And what? Leave us here with no money and no food? How fucking kind of you. Well, here's a novel idea. Get a fucking job like the rest of us. You know, no one is begging you to stay, Mr. Brooklyn. Go ahead and fucking leave. Once you see how good we're doing without you, you're going to be begging us to take you back. So what I hear you saying, Puerto Rico, is you think Brooklyn is going to regret leaving you. Trust me, I know that. They always come back. Thank you. Okay, so that's a little experimental thing that I'm doing to kind of highlight the ways in which gentrification kind of happened over time in Brooklyn. So poem number 2, I am a first generation stateside born Puerto Rican, Nuyorican. Shout out to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, which is where I was born, by the way. I was born there. And I grew up with a mother who experienced visual and audio hallucinatory episodes, pretty much lived her entire life in a state of paranoia. And we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about mental health, which is why this project is really important to me. We didn't discuss salud mental, you know, how to, you know, addressing the stress that comes with migrating here and all of these things. So it affected her, this affected me. And in addition to her mind oftentimes feeling unsafe, we also lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn in the 90s when it was neglected by everyone. And so she was also dealing with the stressors of housing insecurity. So this next poem was kind of written in that vein of kind of going back to who you are and where you come from. Because as a young adult, I tried to distance myself so much from my mother because I was ashamed and I was afraid and I was angry and didn't really understand the way that we were growing up. And I blamed my mom for a lot of it. And then one day I looked in the mirror and I realized that as I was getting older, I saw more and more of a resemblance of my mom. And I started noticing that I had my mother's mannerisms. And so I wrote this poem as a way to kind of interrogate those feelings. So this is called Selfie. You don't visit your mother as often as a daughter should. She is an asylum you have escaped. This is a story you decide not to write. Yet, when you visit your mother, she offers you her best chair. Can you believe they threw this out? She says. You can. The chair is old and groans underneath you. Her apartment is full of things other people don't want. You remember being one of those things. Her apartment smells. There is something dead here, and for once it is not you. You look alive, she says. She means that you have eaten a full meal today and she has not. It is an awful feeling. You can't recall the last time you were hungry and it was not a choice. She is still poor. Though her hands have always been rich with care, you notice her wilted fingers as they try to borrow some youth from your face. She compliments your complexion. Have you done something with your skin? Which means she thinks you are the kind of successful that can afford regular facials. The truth is, you are a new kind of poor, the kind that complains that they can only afford a car or an apartment, but not both. The kind that makes economic decisions in the summer around using the fan or the air conditioner. The kind that skips one bill to pay another. Still, you can buy food at the supermarket without the government's permission. You reek of choice and guilt. You reach in your pocket and give her a $20 bill. It is not enough. You give her another 20. This time you are not enough. You are a daughter trying to buy her mother's joy. You want to take her picture. It is, after all, why you've come to visit. You want proof that she is capable of a memory you do not have. You are a daughter trying to buy her mother's joy. Your mom does not smile in photos. She stares at the camera or away from it. Her mouth is partly open, a frozen prayer. Her face grim and curious, even bold. She does not pose. She dares you to document her sadness, to look at the way she lets it live on her face. Look how she has made a home for things people do not want. You go home and take a picture, another, until your mother's face disappears. Thank you. And I'm gonna do one last poem. Now that I am older and I have the privilege and of space and time, I wrote a book called When We Make It, and I've been exploring kind of these things that I haven't had the time to explore before in my writing. I've been thinking a lot about and contending with this world I've kind of created for myself, this space that I've carved out in this world to, give myself a safety net. And how in many ways, I feel like my work is in conversation with folks who did that, with my literary ancestors, with my contemporaries, right? Folks like Miguel Alagarin, Esmeralda Santiago, Pedro Pietri, right? La Bruja, right? I tell La Bruja all the time, like, I'm here because you are here. And these are the folks who kind of paved the way for me to talk about the things that I talk about in my poems. And I hope that my poems will then pave the way for a future generation of writers who maybe don't have to write about these things because maybe we've figured them out, right? Maybe we are in a much healthier place. But all that to say, thank you so much to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe for being a part of the lineage that I claim. And so I'd like to dedicate this last poem to this idea of remembrance and idea of remembering who came before us and where we come from. Will you remember me when I'm gone? When my name marks a grave, or when my grave is a name abandoned, no flowers, lo que me vayan a dar, que me lo den en vida, que me lo den, que me lo den, que me lo den en vida, Will you remember me singing my story? Because it was too depressing to tell without a melody. And isn't that the reason our mothers went to church in the first place? So they could cry and have someone call it praise. No, no hay que llorar, que la vida es un carnaval y las penas se van cantando. Yo, I remember you. Yeah, I remember you. Yo, you look mad familiar. You used to live on 116th? Nah, no, you from Brooklyn. You from Brooklyn. Wait, don't tell me you used to chill by the cuchifrito spot. Or is it that you smell like papi's habichuelas? Or you walk like mommy struggles? I know those legs. I know that limp. I know that big ass mouth. You yawn and I could see your whole block. I could see every time your grandmother refused to assimilate. I can see the last time you felt that anything you said mattered. Oh, I look familiar. Nah, I just got one of those faces. Yo, but like, what if we remember ourselves? What if the only reason we write is to confess to the self an admission about who we really are when we don't gotta be nobody? And what if it's not being forgotten that makes us afraid? What if we are scared to live forever? To be so alive after we die that we won't even get to rest? Will you remember me? Will you remember Juan, Miguel, Olga, Milagros, Manuel, who all died yesterday, today, and will die again tomorrow? Thank you so much.
Yes, Elizabeth Velasquez, ladies and gentlemen. That was so moving. Thank you so much for that. My goodness, I got chills. And she sings like an angel. You know what I mean? Look at all that talent. You just wouldn't, you don't know. And we just keep uncovering it. And let me tell you something, Elizabeth, I love you, and your successes are our successes. You climb and you fly, and we fly with you. We feel it, I feel it. So grateful for you. And, you know, powerful women, I'm so grateful to have been, you know, surrounded through this journey by so much talent, so much beauty, so much authenticity. And our next performer is someone that I met, you know, in a circle of women. You know, we just wanted to get to know each other. It was a gathering. I think it was Marlena Fitzpatrick that might have organized that way back when, some years ago. And we connected there and have been sharing stages since. This woman has a new album, is a songstress, is a musician, also BEATNIX alum, has an album called Chicana en Nueva York. Ladies and gentlemen, Marilyn Castillo.
Woo! Hey everyone, thank you for being here through the different social media and also in person.
Is my memory serving me correctly? Is that how we met?
Yeah, that's how we met, through Marlena. En tu casa. It was awesome.
So happy to have you back. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Bueno, pues primero que nada, como ya comentó la bruja, yo soy Chicana. And Chicana was an old term that was very common in the 80s for people who were born in the United States or grew up in the United States, but had Mexican heritage or Mexican parents, Mexican grandparents. And I'm no exception. I was born in El Paso, Texas. My dad is a musician, and I just love to perform that way as well. And the first song that I'm going to perform for you is a song entitled Yo Soy Suficiente, I Am Enough. And sometimes it's overlooked. Sometimes we think that we are actually preaching that, but we don't really bite on that. There's moments when there are things that dictate otherwise, and we go along with it. And it costed me years of therapy, years of crying, years of self-loving and accepting myself as who I am, to actually believe this song and being able to these thoughts and being able to convert them into song. And now I'm very happy to present them to you. And this song, by the way, is going to be in Spanglish because of my nature. Okay.
Cada vez que me rompo y me suelto, es que comienzo a nacer, es que retomo mi rumbo, es que empiezo a crecer. Cada vez que yo lloro por algo, es porque duele aprender. A veces el precio es muy alto, pero lo ha de valer. Y aunque me asuste pagarlo, virar atrás ya no puedo. Yo sé suficiente. La imaginación corre en mis venas. No existen cadenas al crear. Y soy suficiente. Recibo con brazos abiertos la vida, abundancia, placer y libertad. Libertad. Of my story, beautiful story to tell. With its ups and downs, I'm thankful for the magic of the spell. I don't know what is up for the future, for I only have today. It makes me live more to the fullest, and I try to stay that way. The ones before me knew it. Are awake now. I got the power within me. Beautiful light shining over. Suficiente. La imaginación corre en mis venas. No existen cadenas al crear. Y soy suficiente. Recibo con brazos abiertos la vida, abundancia, placer y libertad. Yo soy suficiente. La imaginación corre en mis venas, no existen cadenas al crear. Y soy suficiente. Recibo con brazos abiertos a vida, abundancia, placer y libertad. Libertad. Libertad.
Yeah. Esta canción la estrené. The very first time that I sang it was actually in 2020 in the middle of this craziness. I was invited to sing at this special event that was held in the Bronx. I don't know if I'm allowed to make publicity about this, but it was to celebrate the centennial of women's votes in the United States, getting us the right to vote. And well, with that being said, I wanted to say, like, we are enough. We don't need the permission of anyone else in order to be represented by, it is all about ourselves. And also, well, as La Bruja just mentioned, this album is still in the works. It's called Chicana en Nueva York. However, there are already 3 singles out that you can listen to you can go to marilyncastillo.com, and it has all my handles, so we don't lose time and we concentrate right now in the music. And this song that I'm going to perform is entitled that, Chicana en Nueva York, which is what I am. And I love to feature a little bit of the Cuban heritage and Latino heritage and Brazilian and a little bit of different types of music styles that I've been fortunate to encounter in this beautiful city of dreams. And then now, with all due respect, I try to emulate and make my own in my own way.
Siéntete tranquila, que el mundo no te observa, pero si respiras, respira contigo, no estás sola en esta selva, la vida conspira a tu favor. A cada pregunta te sigue una respuesta. Te sientes desnuda por no estar dispuesta. A veces la verdad es cruda, un poco ruda. Busca en tu interior y encontrarás que hay algo más por compartir. Déjaselo al universo que está en ti. Ella echa siempre pa'lante, hace todo con amor y cada vez le va mejor. A la chica de Nueva York, pam 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 pam. Ella echa siempre pa'lante, hace todo con amor y cada vez le va mejor. A la chica de Nueva York, ella echa siempre pa'lante, hace todo con amor y cada vez le va mejor. A la chica de Nueva York voy a liberar mi energía y escuchar mi voz interna, vivir la vida con alegría, verme bella. Son más que una estrella, y cada vez le va mejor. A la chicana en Nueva York, la chicana se mudó del paraíso al infierno, pero tranquila, porque el invierno se pone congelado. En el invierno echa siempre pa'lante, hace todo con amor y cada vez le va mejor. A la chicana en Nueva York, y pa' que volver a lo de antes. Todo un mundo nuevo se abre para ti. La locura en Nueva York. paso, la cosa es seguir. Ya no te compliques como antes, tú sigue pa'lante, déjaselo al universo que está en ti. Gracias. Thank you so much. So much love. I love it. That song I composed to myself, thinking about, you know, sometimes in this city, we tend to get lonely despite of being all crammed in the train or at the streets or surrounded by people in general. Everybody's minding their own business. And sometimes we might get lost in the sense that we lose our reason, our purpose of being where we are, of doing what we do. And we get consumed by the news, we get consumed by daily worries of things that we can't control. And I thought, okay, I need to focus. And I'm pretty sure that many people are going through this, especially la comunidad latina, la comunidad migrante en general. Lamentablemente no tengo esta canción en otro idioma aún. But it's true. Sometimes we tend to lose our sense of purpose. And it is important to remind ourselves like that because that is fundamental. And that's why I compose a song. So every time that I listen to it or everyone who listens to it can remind themselves, why are you here? Or if you haven't found that purpose, maybe this is your chance. Last but not least, I think that I still have like 1 more minute. And I'm no poet. I'm a baby compared to you guys, but I still wanted to say something brief since we're entering this Halloween-ish or Dia de Muertos stage. And as I was eating an apple, I thought, well, this fruit of controversy, so delicious and yet is related to sin. I guess because sin is as delicious sometimes, or because it's, I don't know, because apples tend to be red or they're just luxurious and they just look so yummy. So I just did this little rhyme the other day. Por salud, por tentación, pareciendo un corazón, cada mañana una manzana adorna el escritorio de un doctor o de un maestro. ¿Cómo tan dulce ofertorio se compara a lo siniestro? Si es la fruta del pecado, sabe bien quien la ha probado, qué sabroso es el infierno. And that is my little poem right there.
You can't say you're not a poet. You can't write songs and say you're not a poet. You are a poet. You're a songstress. You are powerful. Thank you so much for sharing of yourself. It was fantastic, as always. As always. Show some love. Madeline Castillo. Follow her, Madeline Castillo Music. Listen to her album. And good luck with the rest of the album. That cover art is fantastic, too.
Thank you. Made by women as well. Y me cabe mencionar, like, the album is still not done, but we just reached 80% on our GoFundMe campaign. So you can find me there. And I'll appreciate every cent is going to be put into well use. Artists that are Latinos that are here in New York, working, striving, hustling, and helping this music to sound amazing. So not just because it's mine, but they really like enhance everything, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate Nuyorican Poets Cafe for making this beautiful space for everyone who has to share their art with the world. Thank you.
Yes. Mi casa, su casa. ¿Qué pasa? Spoken here. Marilyn Castillo.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Y te lo mereces todo. I can't wait to hear the newer work and the newer work, and just don't ever stop. Your voice is just tremendous, and we need you. So, gracias y pa'lante. Woo!
Pa'lante. Echando pa'lante.
Bella persona, bella voz, bello talento. You know, I love being able to curate BEATNIX and host it, of course. Like, I bring people that, you know, I know make my spirit move and make me feel something. And so I'm sure that you're feeling it out there too. Our final poet is someone that I've been sharing stages with now, my goodness, for decades. Also from the Boogie Down Bronx. You know, he has articulated poetry that I wish I wrote, and that's when you know it's good. When you wish you wrote it, you're like, damn, wish I had wrote that. You know it's good. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a teacher, a father. He's also a musician, but today he is bringing you his poetry and his Red Sox. Show some love for Bonafide Rojas.
Yes, seriously. Good evening, World Wide Web. I see you. Hello to everyone in the crowd. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here on a Wednesday. You know how I am. I like to make sure you give yourselves credit. Nuyorican, right? I've been coming to the Nuyorican since I was 17 years old. The first time I came to the New York was for all that. I stood upstairs with my sister. She took me here. And the first time I read here, I believe I was 18. And for a few years, me and my crew, TCK, which were a bunch of graffiti writers, would just sit on the left side of the room and heckle everybody, which we were great at. I want to give a shout out to La Bruja. And yes, it is decades. I believe it's about 25, 26 years. The reason why it's 26 is because my birthday is Saturday. And Libra's in the house. Thank you. Before I begin, I'm gonna give a shout out to my son, John Pablo Rojas, who is in the chat room watching, and I appreciate that. He knows, I'm always watching him. So I'm gonna start with a really new poem that no one has heard yet. What? Real new. So I'm working on a collection. The book is about my mom. My mom passed away a few years ago, and I had a publisher. I did a show in Puerto Rico, and I'm like really excited about this like manuscript I have of pop culture. And I read these poems of my mom, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I want those poems." And I was like, it's kind of new. Like I have to like really like work through it. He goes, "Sure, no problem, take your time." And then this year he goes, "Oh, we're gonna do this book." I go, "Yes, I still have to work through everything out." It's gonna be a book about bereavement and mourning, but also about how poetry was a healing factor in this whole journey that I had, and just my relationship with death now that I am an orphan, right? Both my parents passed away. And so by the time I was 40, I had no parents, and that's like a really big thing. So this is a poem called At the Funeral. 1. Prologue. Red is the color of my name. I heard it once in a dream 20 years ago. Now it is an echo through my body. For over 20 years, red wasn't always my favorite color until I accepted its power and fury. Red is the fastest color. So when I decided to only wear red socks, I thought about how I could create something that was my own, that could be very synonymous with me, something like a myth. Like the red beanie. It's still slightly new, but everyone thinks it's been around forever. Or my red Gibson Flying V that I've owned for over 15 years. It's definitely my favorite. I'm sure I will be buried with it. And all that is to say, two, at my funeral, I hope it's a nice day where the weather cooperates, maybe on a Friday. Everyone should be wearing red socks. Hopefully the same kind, but I won't hold people to that kind of rigid request. But red socks may be the only actual request. At my funeral, see who's crying, see who's laughing, and see who's not doing either. The ones crying, I probably owe them money. The ones laughing are telling an outlandish story of me being wild. The ones that are not doing either, ask them, how did you know him? I can't control what people say about me, never have, never will. But I have confronted the stories told about me, and 99% of them are their perspective, and not actually about me. I'm not taking credit for some crazy story that includes aliens, cows, and Republicans. You know who to go to when it comes to stories about me. I can tell you, but I'm not. But make sure my best friends say something. I know some will be sweet, some will clown me and say, oh, he had to be the first. Now who's gonna read a poem at my funeral? Make sure TCK doesn't roast me for too long, and that my son gets the most time if he wants, and my nephews too. My son can have my Akira collection. I know he's so hyped that I said that, because now it's on video. At my funeral, I don't want it to be too sad of an occasion. So I want Hendrix playing, the Beatles, Bob Dylan, Radiohead, the Mars Volta, At the Drive-In, A Tribe Called Quest, Organized Confusion, Outkast, Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd. Look, these are the bands that have shaped my whole life. Please pick beautiful photos too. Print them nicely. I've seen horrible pixelation at some of these funerals. We won't be doing that with me, unless it's on purpose. At my funeral, tell me which lovers and exes show up. Who's wearing red to be scandalous? I have a few ideas, but I want to make sure they live up to all the trash talking they've always said they would. At my funeral, know that I'll miss you all, and I've tried to be that guy for you. I failed at a lot of things, and succeeded in more. I traveled the world and hated leaving New York sometimes. I would change certain things, definitely, but it would have made me a different person. I'm glad Mom Dukes didn't see me transition. I know she'll be waiting for me. Mind you, I have very stark ideas of the afterlife. But for now, I'll be optimistic. So when I see her, she'll be a little younger, with a healed body, yelling at me like, Pop, you're here! Bendito, it's okay now, we're together again. What do you want to do? Ma, I'm just happy to be here. Thank you. You know, I'm not even sure he's ever heard this. This is called John Pablo Rojas is a comet crashing out the sky. I stand among dead flocks of birds shaped in V formation at Grand Army Plaza, atop of the weeds in the concrete, in the packed streets of Times Square, in the South Bronx, he came crashing out the sky. Beneath the streets, beneath Woodlawn Cemetery, beneath the pigeons, beneath the skyscraping towers of capitalism, farther down forgotten demigods, formerly elected officials, and washed up rookie baseball players, staring into the black, beyond the street and block, beyond bridge and river, beyond borough and island, beyond religious purification over genocide and gangbanging, corruption in city officials, consumption, consumerisms, underdeveloped communities, malnourished imaginations, corporate gentrification versus community salvation. Next to safe deposit banks of safety dependent pockets of the poor. Next to dilapidated condos with the tiny dreams. The trust-funded education, the greed dripping from their mouths. Everyone's trying to leave their immortality in my eyes, inside a Century Park cemetery in the middle of my skull. They're trying to chop my hands off, chop my head off, and buy my body parts. Everything is not for sale among the leaders with blindfolds on. In the man-made cities in the skies, with the man-made titles of world domination, in the corrupt police precincts, in the very overcrowded jails, in the racist American court system, with the organizers, the activists, the drummers, the poets, the painters, the dancers, the rioters, the musicians, the migration, the lawyers, the strap hangers, the running lost, the mothers of dead children, the orphan children, the wind from the Gulf of Mexico reminding me of a memory of South America. And I see these dragons made out of clouds, and I see these ships with names of dead generals, and I'm supposed to be happy when they say they come in peace and the ocean is dead still. And all that I carry is a box of possibility with my heart, my fears. I see the moon being master and servant. And I see 6 sea serpents and 6 Black Hawks looking like shadows. And then he crashed off the sky with nothing. No name, no breath, no voice, naked, hoping to come home to a better world, to a better me. And when he arrived, he was so beautiful. Thank you. This was my father. He was mad Puerto Rican. Mad Puerto Rican. And, you know, we had a complicated relationship to the very end. I was designated to do all the identifying and everything, which I thought was really wild that it made me do that, but I had to take care of my mom, my sister, and that. So I identified the body and I did everything, and I just know I have these series of poems that I have on my father where I say it in the piece where I really want to reinvent his whole life. Because I remember one time I was young, I was in my early 20s. I think I went to Cuba, I went to Paris, and I was already traveling in the States. And I looked at him once and I was like, I already lived a life long better than you have. Because my father made really bad decisions. And I think one of the things I told someone today is I think sometimes we are so obsessed with the moment that we can't figure out what repercussions look like when we make these decisions. And if you just take a second and not go out with your homeboys, not, make that wrong decision that has an everlasting echo in your life and changes everything. So this is called, my father's from Santurce, Puerto Rico, from Barrio Obrero, right by the bridge before Rio Piedras. And my father was Miguel, he was left-handed, so his nickname was, of course, Lefty. Original. But I wrote this the first time I read in Santurce, right after the first night. And the only person alive in this piece is Georgie and Gecko. Everyone I mentioned by name is passed on. Last night, I ran the same streets my father ran through. I imagine him con Rafaelito, Junito, Keko, and Georgie acting like fools with all the best intentions. I see them running down Fernandez Juncos, posted up on the corner, asking girls how was their day. I hear Junito be loud and obnoxious. Keko and Georgie lower their head, yelling at him like, Mira, déjala. I see them waiting for the bus that will never arrive. I see them arguing over who smoked the last cigarette.
I see them be wild and innocent, but get singled out, make the wrong decisions, develop the wrong vices. I see them fighting people who looked at Gecko wrong, who was always the nicest one. I hear Rafaelito tell him he's joining the army. I hear the guilty and the gavel as Papi goes to jail. I don't even know what street we're on anymore. It looks like Avenida Ponce de Leon, but it could be Willis Avenue. The barrios of Puerto Rico always have similarities. An army of banderas, the smell of café a la mañana, cuchifritos on the corner, a bodega owned by Don Carlo with salsa playing in the background sounds like Cheo Feliciano. So last night, I read Insane Streets my father roamed through, and I saw him in his youthful abrasiveness, thinking he knew everything in the world, that he had everything planned out. And I want to walk up to him and tell him, Mira papi, ten cuidado. And say it like he would know I was his son. Say it like I could change his future, even if it meant me not existing. Because I wanted him to have such a different life than he lived, like a character in a Garcia Marquez novel, pero not a Greek tragedy, not a crime noir, pero something magical. I tell him, Papi, there's so much for you to do in this world tonight. Don't go out with your friends. Cora Tirianita, you me fela. Ask her what books does she like, pero stay home. Tell your siblings you love them, pero make better decisions. You're gonna have kids that need your love. You still have time to change everything, pa. To live a life that's beautifully amazing. To live a life that's left of everything you knew. So last night, I saw my father in the streets of San Dulce. I gave him a head nod. I said, what's up? But he didn't see me. He was busy chasing the ghosts of his future. He didn't see I had so much love and hope for him. He didn't see me at all. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Hey, all right. Woo! Thank you, Bonafide Rojas. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is another episode for the books of BEATNIX. Thank you so much. This happens once a month, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Tell your friends, share it. And now we're gonna shut down this online world to open up in person for Women Orator Wednesday, hosted by Destiny Padilla. It's Ladies Night, y'all. Thank you so much. Buenas noches. Good night. Woo!